It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'll tell you what, I just got back from my favorite place on earth. No, it's not Disneyland, it's not Disney World, it's Fish Camp. Fish Camp is located in the Columbia River Gorge. It's an event I've been attending for 13 years now. It's put together by a guide from the Dalles and a promoter named Ed Iman, who's basically a Northwest fishing legend. What he does is every September, for about 5 days, he brings together outdoors writers, broadcasters, and communicators, along with fishing guides, tournament anglers, and manufacturers in the outdoors and fishing industry. What do we do there? Well, we camp, we eat a little bit too much, we might drink a few adult beverages, and there's some networking that takes place too, as you might imagine. But mostly, we fish. And the fishing in September in the Columbia River Gorge is amazing. I mean, you have your choice of salmon, which is usually the most popular target on the Columbia River or the Deschutes or the Klickitat, or you can go for steelhead on the Klickitat or the Deschutes, or you can go for smallmouth bass on the Columbia River or the John Day River, or if you prefer, there's walleye in the Columbia, and don't forget the oversized sturgeon. All of these are possible. All of these are done every year at Fish Camp. It's an absolute hoot, and we always record a show from Fish Camp. And that's what we've got for you this week. We're going to start off by talking to Larry Hutchins. He is offering one-on-one on-the-water training to help you get the most out of your Lowrance Marine Electronics. Let's face it, these new electronics that are coming out these days, whether it's Garmin or Lowrance, they're really complicated. And if you want to get the most out of it, one-on-one instruction on your boat in the water is the way to go. Somebody else that was at Fish Camp was Max Lure Pro guide Bruce Warren, owner of Fishing for Fun Guide Service. He's going to explain how he uses the flashlight troll to catch more salmon and more fish in general. Outdoors writer and TV personality Gary Lewis has updated a book, Fishing Central Oregon. It's the 6th edition, and he's got some suggestions on some great lakes and streams you ought to check out as an angler in Central Oregon. We always bring you product reviews from Fish Camp, and one of them is from Steve Lumsden at Angler Innovations. If you're a salmon angler who uses herring, you are going to love what he has for you. And if you're looking for a salmon rod, Cousins Tackle has a couple of them that will work very well for you the next time you go trolling for these big fish. Josh Cooper with Cousins will tell you more about that. In addition to Fish Camp and the Columbia River Gorge, we've got fishing reports from all over the Northwest, courtesy of the staff at Sportsman's Warehouse we'll be sharing with you. And of course, we've got our Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, where you get the chance to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. But before we head to the Peach Beach RV Park right across the river from Biggs Junction, Oregon, for all of this Fish Camp fun, Matt and Tom are back with another edition of Sportsman Spotlight. This week, we find out about some new management practices being developed by Idaho Fish and Game. Sportsman Spotlight is brought to you every week by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering affordable, all-inclusive fishing vacations out of Port Hardy, BC. Find out more at coastwidesportsfishing.com.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom.
Fish and Game develops a new way to control fish populations, winning a national award. Field reporter Susan Allen has more with the details.
It's interesting, Tom and Matt. According to an article forwarded by Roger Phillips, public information specialist for Idaho Fish and Game researchers and hatchery staff are working together on a project using 50-year-old technology to develop a monosex fish population, whose offspring only produce males. These males have two Y chromosomes rather than the usual XY arrangement. Docking YY male hatchery fish into a body of water with an undesired fish population could change the sex ratio to all male within a few generations, and the unwanted fish population would eventually fail to reproduce and therefore die off humanely. Once accomplished, Fish and Game would stop stocking those fish, and fisheries managers would then restock that body of water with a more desirable fish species. It's also interesting that brook trout were selected for the first YY project because they're short-lived and quick to sexually mature, which enables researchers to rapidly produce hatchery broodstock and test the technique in a natural environment. Brook trout are also great candidates because they are non-native, frequently overpopulate, and stunt in both lakes and streams, which mean fish are too small to be of interest for most of the anglers. The YY techniques begins in a hatchery where young brook trout are exposed to low doses of a common female hormone estradiol, which has no effect on female fish.
Thank you, Susan, for the update. This sounds like a great technique to control those unwanted species of fish.
That was Sportsman Spotlight.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting from Fish Camp at the Peach Beach RV Park in the Columbia River Gorge, basically on the border of Washington and Oregon. It's an annual event we go to every year where we fish, we camp, and we network as well. And we get to record audio and tell you about some things you wouldn't know otherwise. Case in point, right now, I'm sitting in a bass boat. It belongs to Larry Hutchins. He's a tournament bass angler. He's a longtime pro staffer for Lowrance, and he is doing something really special that I think you're going to be interested in. Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
So, Larry, I see you at a lot of the sportsman shows, apparently the big one in Portland. You're at the Lowrance booth. People are always coming up and talking to you. And now you're taking that to another level because, you know, these electronics, they're complicated. It's a little intimidating to figure it out on your own, isn't it?
Yeah, it's much like in the late 80s, early 90s when the personal computer came out. We had personal computers, then we had Wi-Fi, we had internet, we had networking, and all that is going on in the marine electronics world right now. And so these things are giving you a lot more tools, but you need to know how to set them up. You need to know how to take advantage of your investment.
So you came up with this idea of offering personalized instruction, traveling to where people are and getting on their boat with them on the water and helping them get the most out of their electronics.
That's right, John. I realized after talking with literally thousands of people over the 30 years I've been with Lowrance that I'd be retired if I got a penny for every time a customer asked me after I explained how to do something, could you come out of my boat and show me how to do it? And with the networking capabilities, the sharing that goes on now, these things are getting a little bit more complicated. They're great tools for the fishermen, but unless you know how to work them, you're not taking advantage of your investment. So I came up with the idea on one-on-one training. I've been involved with the Lowrance Learning Center at the shows with Jeff Boyer, and I've come to the conclusion that we have this group of anglers out there that needs one-on-one training with adult learning styles. So we teach them not as kids, but as an adult, which means we need to integrate their pushing of the buttons, or in some cases the touch screen, with the thinking, and that helps them retain it. The manual, every guy tells me he's read the manual front to back, and the manual's really great if you want to do one thing in a vacuum, one process of either sonar or GPS, but it doesn't help you connect the dots and how to integrate your style of fishing with what all of the processes and the benefits that Lowrance sonar has. So that's what I do, is I tailor my training on the water with them to their style of fishing and what they hope to get out of it.
You know, this is just a fantastic idea. I mean, I've heard of fly fishing instructors doing this, one-on-one lessons. I've heard of firearms instructors going to the range and having one-on-one lessons, but I've never heard about this with electronics. It makes perfect sense, though. So, you know, what is your travel range, so to speak, in terms of how far do you operate? You're located in Newberg, Oregon.
Currently, I'm focused on most of Oregon, Southwest Washington. I'm not opposed to going farther. I have a rate that requires travel cost. So if somebody from Tri-Cities called me and said, could you come over to do training? I'm going, yes, but there's a mileage rate. And then if you have a buddy that needs training, I'd split that in two. If you have 2 buddies, 3 buddies, well, we could do something then if I had more people to show up for the various trainings.
Let's go ahead and talk about how long these trainings take. I mean, is this like all day on the water, or, how long does it generally take to teach people how to get the most out of their Lowrance electronics?
Well, John, the biggest factor in time for the one-on-one training is how much Lowrance equipment you have. If you're a typical salmon guy and you've got maybe 1 or 2 networked HDS products on your boat, maybe you've got an autopilot, maybe you've got a radar, you do some coastal fishing, you have 3D structure scan, all that takes a little bit more time. My average training time is 2 hours, and if you've got more product, then it can go into 3 hours. 70% of my customers I do in 2 hours, and the rest fall into the 3-hour category.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Larry Hutchins about the personalized training he can give you in your boat, on the water, to teach you how to get the most out of your Lowrance electronics, whether it's the fish finders, whether it's the autopilot, or whether it's the GPS. So let's talk about some basic aha moments that you probably have with almost all of your clients that maybe our listeners can get some benefit out of. What are a couple of basic things that people are like, oh, I never knew that, when it comes to your trainings?
Well, there's a lot of those, John. We could maybe write a book after this is all done, but a couple of things that people didn't realize, and a lot of it has to do with possibly structure scan or networking capabilities. When you network 2 Lowrance HDS products together, it's one of the greatest things as it relates to sharing multiple transducers. You don't have crosstalk because both units are reading off the same transducer. You can share your structure scan transducer on both units. If you own a Navionics map or a Lowrance map, instead of buying 2 map cards, which are generally a couple $100 a piece, you buy the one you want, you put it in one, it reads it across the network and shares it on the other unit. So you're saving money by having a higher end unit that is networkable capable.
All right, that's definitely a good one, and that's something, I didn't know that. Any other ones that kind of stand out that are pretty basic but go over people's heads when they first get their units?
I would say the new Chirp sonar has made adjustments for sonar. What typically happens, 80% of fishing in the Northwest are rivers. And you get a lot of minutia, what I call minutia in the water, debris, air bubbles, turbulence, and people try to filter that out. And when they do, they ultimately go too far with the filter and they filter out their fish signals. And I get a call, well, I'm not seeing fish. And I said, are you using Chirp? Well, no, turn Chirp on, turn all your filters off, and see how that works.
So, for our listeners who don't know, explain what Chirp sonar is.
Chirp sonar is a range of frequencies that takes the strongest signals out of that range instead of a single frequency, which reads everything in the water, whether you want to know about it or not. And so that's when you look at a Chirp signal on the screen, it's much clearer, you have less background noise, you have more defined targets, and you can actually see clearer targets deeper in the range versus a single frequency. So it has a lot of benefits, and Lowrance is the first company to put Chirp in every one of their products, whether it's a $300 unit or a $3,000 unit.
Last but not least, how can people get a hold of you so they can schedule some of this personalized one-on-one training and get the most out of their electronics in their boat?
Well, they can call me direct or email me. My phone number is 971-570-0808, and my email address is lhutcen@ix.netcom.com.
Okay, and I'm going to have you repeat both of those 2 more times because we need to get this stick. So the phone number 2 times and the email 2 times.
My phone number is 971-570-0808. That's 971-570-0808. And my email address is lhutcen@ix.netcom.com. That's lhutcen@ix.netcom.com.
Well, there you go, folks. If you didn't get that, just contact me through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. We'll make sure you get that information so you can contact Larry Hutchins. And again, have your personalized one-on-one session so you can get the very most out of the great electronics you've got in your boat from Lowrance. Larry, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Rise above us, got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top-quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. Once again, we're talking with Max Lure Pro Guide, Bruce Warren. He's the owner of Fishing for Fun Guide Service, and we're talking about something you might want to put in front of your lure. It's called the flashlight troll. Bruce, tell us more about the flashlight troll and why you like to use it.
Well, everybody's familiar with the Smile Blade and what colors and what it does. It's incredible. But for somebody that wants something a little bit different, we have the flashlight trolls. It's a little bit different shape, still comes in some great colors, and it flashes incredible. Great for gang trolls for trout, kokanee. We've got guys that will put them in front of the Double D Dodger, that's also a Max product, for spring Chinook, fall Chinook, to give it some extra flash, extra shine, and believe me, it will call the fish in. We've also got guys that will put it on their hooks with a couple of beads in there in front of, say, a herring or a cut plug herring. Again, extra flash in these dark, murky waters of the Columbia River that we have, and it works great.
The flashlight troll, lightweight, Mylar blades. They spin at very slow speeds, and again, you don't have that drag resistance you get with the gang troll. So check out the flashlight troll, and as you just heard from Bruce, lots of different ways to use it for lots of different species. If you want to go fishing with Bruce, look him up at fishingforfunguideservice.com. That's fishingforfunguideservice.com. Bruce does a lot of fishing for salmon and steelhead throughout our Northwest waters. That wraps up this week's Max Minute.
Looking for that extra something that will get more salmon or trout into your boat? Then check out the Double D Dodger from Max Lure. The Double D does double duty and helps you catch more fish. The Double D's flash attracts lunkers, and the Dodger's patented stop-start action works wonders to get those fish biting. The Double D does even more by acting as a side planer to get your bait away from the boat where the fish are more likely to be and more apt to strike. The Double D Dodger. It's the Dodger you've got to have from Max Lure.
Tired of the same old fishing hole? Then head to Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Enjoy a weekend on the glacial waters of Wallowa Lake, where you can troll for the deep water excitement of kokanee or cast your line for some trout fishing fun. Bring your float tube or canoe and enjoy fishing in some of Wallowa County's small lakes. Or don your waders and step into the clear waters of the Wallowa, Imnaha, or Grand Ronde rivers. Early to bed, early to rise, fish all day, and there'll be no need for lies when you fish the waters of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Visit us online at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Want to earn a serious reward? You can, and all you need is a fishing rod. There's money to be made catching northern pike minnow. There's too many of them in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and we'll pay you cash to catch them. Pike minnow eat our salmon and steelhead, and that's no good. The season starts May 1st, runs through September, and the more fish you catch, the more you earn. How much money can you make from this program? Well, last year, one angler earned a cool $100,000. reward. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org. Go ahead, collect your reward.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
You can fish from a boat, or you can stand on shore, or you can use a pontoon with carpet on the floor.
Back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, I'm John Cruz. You're listening to the Fish Camp Edition, where we bring you audio recorded in the Columbia River Gorge. Our location is a Peach Beach RV park right across the Columbia River from Biggs Junction. So we're basically on the border of Washington and Oregon. There's tons of great fishing opportunities around here. And one person who knows that is the author of the 6th edition of Fishing Central Oregon, Gary Lewis. Gary, always great to have you on the show.
John Cruz, it is good to see you again.
So Gary, Fishing Central Oregon. I love your books because, number one, they're always laid out quite well. You've got over 200 lakes and streams. You've got techniques for fishing the various waterways here in Central Oregon. And you even lay out not just rivers, not just lakes, but you've got private lakes, backcountry lakes, and even, well, places for the kids to go fishing too. So let's break down some of these places that you really enjoy fishing, that our listeners will too. And let's start off with the Deschutes River, which is a great river. I love fishing it every year here at Fish Camp.
So the thing about the Deschutes is it's 200 plus miles of river that is some of the best fishing in the state, and people have known that for years and years, and they plan their trips around going to the Deschutes, and they come to Central Oregon, and that's what they're focused on, and rightly so, because there's salmon, there's steelhead, and there's trout in the lower river, and then we got really good trout fishing upstream in different reaches. And the river is several different kinds of river depending on where you access it at, so it's really a multifaceted jewel, but it is not everything we have, and a person coming to Central Oregon that wants to catch fish should really examine what they're looking to do, and then maybe go do something different, and maybe spend an afternoon on the Deschutes, so you can check that off your list, and then go fish maybe Crane Prairie or Lava Lake or even Sparks Lake or Elk Lake. There's a lot of things to do, and I think with this book we're trying to show people that there's a lot of stuff to do out there, and even in one lifetime you couldn't fish all these waters.
So let's talk about a couple of the lakes. And, Bend, Oregon is the big population center here. Where do a lot of folks in Bend like to go fishing, especially for trout?
Well, Crane Prairie Reservoir comes right to the top of that list because it's legendary, and it's legendary for good reason. One time I walked down to the dock while I was working on a book project, and here's a guy coming in, and he has kept a 16-pound rainbow.
Oh, my gosh.
And these things, they grow really big, eating chironomids, the midge larvae in that lake. But that's just one body of water. We have East Lake, and then Paulina Lake, also well known because of the production of big brown trout out of those lakes. But another lake, maybe not as well known, is Odell Lake. It has its fans, but you can go there in October and get dry fly fishing for wild rainbows. And I bet most people listening didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Whenever I think of Odell, I always think of kokanee because that fishery's become very popular there. Let's talk about the Cascades, because you've got several lakes in the West Cascades drainage that obviously would be good to fish too.
One of the Cascade lakes that I really like is Gold Lake. It's up there by Odell, and it's a brook trout lake and a rainbow trout fishery with a lot to offer the fly fishermen. And the brook trout don't get really big, at least the ones I've caught haven't gotten really big, but there's some good rainbows in there, and the fly fishing can be pretty fast up there, and especially in September when those fish need to put on the feed in a big way.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Gary Lewis, the author of the 6th edition of Fishing Central Oregon, featuring over 200 lakes and streams. Now, one of the lakes in your book is, I guess you could call it Eastern Oregon, as much as you call it Central Oregon, Man Lake. It is a very unique place, and it's known for being, I think, about the only lake in Oregon where you can catch Lahontan cutthroat trout.
You're right, and I always gauge people's knowledge by what they know about Man Lake, and so good job. You scored there in that department. One of the things that Man Lake was also known for was goldfish, because there was an illegal release of goldfish in Man Lake, and the lake had to be treated with rotenone a few years ago. So that lake is fishing again, and it should be one to put on your list.
Let's talk about a couple of streams besides the Deschutes that you think people ought to maybe go enjoy, maybe if you're a fly angler.
When I take kids fishing, I try and take them to places where they're going to be successful. And then some days I say, okay, we're not going catching today, we're going fishing. And then I take them to the Metolius. And it's one of those special places that a person should fish in their lifetime. If they live in the West, you got to have the Metolius on your list. And it is a spring-fed stream that rises full strength right out of the ground. And you can walk to the springs, and the river is very accessible. And it's a place where you can go and watch and observe wild rainbows and bull trout and kokanee at this time of year.
We've been talking a lot about trout and a little bit about salmon, a little bit about kokanee and steelhead. We haven't talked warm water species. We haven't talked bass. Any recommendations in Central Oregon regarding that?
Yes, we're limited on the warm water fisheries, but what we have are pretty exciting. And so I immediately think about Lake Billy Chinook and the smallmouth bass fishery there that is largely unnoticed and untouched.
Well, it is, because I'm always thinking cold water species with Lake Billy Chinook.
That's right, but we've caught some nice smallmouth out of there, and you can have days where you can put up big numbers of fish fishing the shoreline. But the John Day River really comes to mind, and you know that one well. It's a place where you can catch 100 smallmouth in a day. It has that reputation, justly so. I wasn't able to stick with it when I tried to do my 100 in a day. I got interested in other things, and I stopped at 69 fish, and one was a catfish on a fly. But it's a special place where you can catch a lot of smallmouth bass in a short time.
And folks, the John Day River is one of the more scenic rivers you'll ever fish. Great wildlife opportunities. As a matter of fact, I was just fishing that yesterday with outdoors writer Dave Kilhefner. The two of us caught about 40 bass, most of them small, I'll be honest, average size 8 to 12 inches, but wonderful views. Got to see a herd of bighorn sheep cross the river right in front of us, walk up the ridgeline, and stand there looking at us from 30 yards away. And you can't have experiences like that in very many places. So don't forget the beauty that you're going to find here. Don't forget all the wildlife either. Last but not least, let's talk about, places for the kids.
We've got a bunch of places to fish with kids, and we listed them in this new book, the Fishing Central Oregon book. In Bend, it's Shevlin Pond, and I taught my kids to fish there, and now I'm teaching my grandkids to fish there. There's Reynolds Pond and Fireman's Pond in Redmond, and Jefferson County Pond in Madras. Burns Pond, of course, is in Burns. And all these places are supported by the Department of Fish and Wildlife, because they want kids to catch fish early and be successful, and that's what every parent wants to. Prineville Youth Pond is another one, the Bend Pine Nursery Pond. There's also a new pond being built in the Camp Sherman area.
We are out of time, so we can't tell you more, but I would urge you to buy the 6th edition of Fishing Central Oregon. Gary, where can folks find it?
This book is available in all the fly shops in Central Oregon, and up through the gorge, and in some department stores, and on the web, on Amazon, and on my website, GaryLewisOutdoors.com.
Well, there you go. GaryLewisOutdoors.com or Amazon.com or all sorts of stores in Central Oregon. It's the 6th edition of Fishing Central Oregon. Check it out. Beautiful book, great photography, and lots of fantastic information. Gary, always a pleasure to have you on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. It's always good to see you.
Lake, Round Lake, Bear Lake, Rice Lake, Sugar Lake, Mud Lake, Long Lake, Ann Lake, Swan Lake, and Lake of the Woods. Oh, I fish everywhere.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
He said we're right on him. Without missing a beat, you'll drop your line down to 42 feet. If you don't screw up, it won't be long. Someone in this boat's gonna sing Fish On. Fish on, fish on. Do it by the book, don't take too long. Set the hook, reel it in strong. Fish on, fish on.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Josh Cooper at Fish Camp in the Columbia River Gorge. Josh used to be with Lamiglass, which is located in Woodland, Washington, but now he's with a different company. It's called Cousins Tackle, and they've got some rods that you're going to be very interested in if you're a salmon or steelhead angler. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
So Josh, first things first, Cousins Tackle, not really familiar with your product line. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Basically, the two founders of the company are from the Northwest here, moved down to Huntington Beach, California. Have worked in the industry for 30 plus years each, and are actual true life cousins. And they founded this rod company down there, and they're building all their rods in the U.S. here in Huntington Beach in their own factory. Blanks they're building them from the blanks up.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, there's some really nice-looking rods that you have for us here today. Both of these are salmon rods, and these are specifically for Northwest anglers and Northwest fishing conditions. Tell us about them.
Yeah, we've got our Columbia Composite series. Now, these are basically designed for any rods that you would use in a rod holder for salmon steelhead. The whole series kind of covers any kind of rod holder type applications that you would use. All of our Columbia Composites are available in graphite handles, and with a couple models also available in cork.
So let me back up on this. The graphite handles. You know, I'm used to, for years, we had cork, and then we had foam handles, and now I'm starting to see these graphite handles. What's the advantage of graphite over foam?
Well, the graphite, it doesn't absorb scent. It lasts basically forever, and it goes in and out. Our rod holder's real nice. It cleans up very nice. After years of use, the rod still looks new.
Okay, so let's talk specifically about these true trolling rods here.
Yeah, so what I have here is the CC 1054 TG, and CC stands for Columbia Composite. The 1054 is basically a heavy trolling rod. It starts at buoy 10, basically, where this application starts, and ends at the reach where guys are going to be trolling pro trolls or with super baits. So this is kind of an all-around bow rod where you'd be running 10.5 foot rod to get that extra spread between your rods. Then the other one I have here is the CC 944. So our 9 foot 4 inch, also a heavy. Most guys would use that for kind of a midship rod or out the back of their boats, or if you're running a smaller boat and maybe only running 3 or 4 rods, it would be probably the best all-around rod to have in your boat is that CC 944. And again, used for pro trolls with a super bait, or anytime that you'd be pulling that 12 ounces or less with lead.
So are all the Columbia Composite rods, are they all trolling rods, or do you have spin rods as well?
All trolling rods. We have our Tributary series, which covers, they're an all graphite rod, which cover any kind of application that you would hold the rod in your hand. I tried to make it easy for the guy picking out a rod. So if it's a rod that's going to be held in your hand, it's going to be a Tributary series. If it's a rod that's going to go in the rod holder, it's going to be the Columbia Composites.
Very easy. I like that very much. So last but not least, where can folks find Cousins Tackle rods?
Oh, we've got dealers all up and down the Northwest, from Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor, Bob's in Longview. We've got Ranch and Home up the gorge, most Sportsman's Warehouses in the Northwest. We've got Dan's Outdoors, a lot of dealers around, England Marine, and dealers that we're opening up every day. Ted's in Linwood also.
All right. Last but not least, website for Cousins Tackle so people can find out more about your rods.
CousinsTackle.com, or our Northwest rods are mainly featured on our Facebook site, which is Cousins Tackle Northwest.
There you go. That's Cousins Tackle, building some really nice-looking rods you may want to check out. Josh, thanks for telling us about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Hey, appreciate the time.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Steve Lumsden. He is the owner of Angler Innovations, and he and his wife, Chris, have formed a company that makes great fishing tackle here in the Northwest, and we're going to talk about a couple products today. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So, Steve, we're talking salmon fishing today, and we're talking about the Sure Spin bait fish helmet. Tell me more about this. I'm assuming this is for anchovies and herring.
It is. Out here in the West, we use it mostly for herring, but there's a growing bunch of folks that are using it in our small sizes for anchovies and small herring. In the wintertime, there's a large blackmouth fishery, especially in the Puget Sound area, and they use the small ones for yellow and orange label herring.
So I'm going to ask you, why a bait helmet? I mean, I've seen lots of people just put a hook basically through the head, a hook later down the body, and they call it good. Why do you need a bait helmet?
Well, a lot of people like the cut plug action. It's been a type of fishing that's been out here in the West for, decades. But one of the problems we've had is that, especially with fresh bait and softer baits, that they tend to blow out quickly, or if a fish strikes, the bait is ruined immediately and you need to change out. With the Sure Spin bait herring helmet, it has the right angle cut. It caps that end of the cut plug herring, and you always have the right action at all times. And so your bait life is extended considerably. I would say probably 50 to 70% of your bait will be saved from what you normally use.
Well, you've already sold me on it. What's the price point on the Sure Spin bait fish helmet?
Most of our retailers, at least around the big cities, are going to be around $6.95. As you get more in the outlying areas, it may be more.
And the great thing about this, folks, is that, the herring, it racks up the money pretty quick. So if you go ahead and use this, again, you're going to extend the life, and that's a good thing. Something else you have here is the Bait Cutter Pro. Tell our listeners about this.
Well, there's a lot of fishermen out here that really like to use their herring, or especially their cut plugs, naked, meaning without any kind of accessory, like a Sure Spin or some of the other herring accessories. And so they cut their own herring with their own angle, but they find that they still have the same problem. The bait degenerates rapidly, and sometimes they make a miscut, and of course the bait's wasted. So I come out with a product that actually is two cutters in one and has a small size and a large size with a perfect angle in it based upon our very successful Sure Spin bait fish helmet. And it is a automatic centering of the bait. There's no sliding of the bait from side to side. It's based on a half pipe model where the bait sits in the bottom, and you can make your perfect angle cut every time. It actually fits into the Sure Spin herring helmet precisely for a great meld between the two. But if you're fishing your herring naked, it gives you a great spin, and I have a very large contingency of guides that are very happy with this.
So, if you are a fishing guide, or if you're just a serious angler who targets salmon with herring or anchovy, check out the Sure Spin bait fish helmet and check out the Sure Spin Bait Cutter Pro, both available through Angler Innovations. Their website is anglerinnovations.com. That's anglerinnovations.com. Steve, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, hard-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Want to earn a serious reward? You can, and all you need is a fishing rod. There's money to be made catching northern pike minnow. There's too many of them in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, and we'll pay you cash to catch them. Pike minnow eat our salmon and steelhead, and that's no good. The season starts May 1st, runs through September, and the more fish you catch, the more you earn. How much money can you make from this program? Well, last year, one angler earned a cool $100,000. Find out more at pikeminnow.org. That's pikeminnow.org. Go ahead, collect your reward.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
One more time this week for Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
This week, instead of upcoming events, we've got some fishing reports for you from the Northwest, courtesy of the staff at Sportsman's Warehouse store. They do a great job of finding out from their customers or from their fellow employees how the fishing is, and they're happy to share that with you. We'll start off in Idaho Falls, where Henry's Lake has really turned on. Trolling leech patterns has been very good for the trout. Kamloopers and Castmasters have also been fishing very well. Meanwhile, at nearby Henry's Fork, streamer fishing has been very good for the trout too. Olive and black colors have been the best. Big caddis hatches are still coming off every night. The Missoula Sportsman's Warehouse reports that Hauser Reservoir near Helena is doing pretty good. Troll for the walleye with crawler harnesses behind a bottom bouncer, or troll a flicker shad in the causeway. Trout have been caught with Max wedding ring lures or spoons behind cowbells or beer can trolls. Fishing picks up this time of year below Canyon Ferry Dam. And the Spokane store reports Amber Lake near Cheney has picked up a little compared to the weeks before. Anglers have noticed the fish are deep and sometimes are very picky on what they want to eat. Try fishing beaded San Juan worms, nymphs, and leeches. They have been the best flies to use. Finally, the Klamath Falls store has a report regarding the Williamson River. The upper river is currently good for trout, averaging 12 inches on dry flies. Dry fly fishing can be an excellent method to catch trout this time of year, and it's working well on some of the private pay ranches like Sand Creek and the Yampsey. The lower Williamson is catch and release only for redband trout for the entire river. Barbless hooks are recommended. The mayfly hatch can be excellent, and other flies to use include mahogany, tricos, and blue wing olives, which are hatching in good numbers. You can find more fishing reports from a Sportsman's Warehouse store near you by going to sportsmanswarehouse.com. Simply go to the bottom left portion of the front page and click on the Fishing Reports tab to get there. Once you check out the report for the water you want to fish, make it a point to go to your local Sportsman's Warehouse store and stock up on all the tackle you'll need. And now it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. We don't have woodcock here in the Northwest. Nope, it's a game bird hunted in the eastern states, but you are likely to see the breed of dog around here that got its name for its skill in flushing woodcock. Do you know what kind of hunting dog I'm talking about here? What is the breed that got its name for its skill in flushing woodcock in those eastern woods? It's also a breed that makes for an excellent family pet. If you think you know, contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com and give us your answer there. And feel free to listen to a podcast of our most recent show while you're there. You can also give us your answer on our Facebook page, found at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Simply like our page, go to the post where we have this question, and give us your answer. One lucky person who guesses right is going to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. Another site to check out on the web is the home of WRVO Radio. It's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet radio station dedicated to outdoors programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Northwestern Outdoors is on there, and so is our new show, America Outdoors Radio. This is a national show with a strong West Coast influence, and you can listen to a recent edition and find a station near you at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed our annual Fish Camp edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I love this event, and I'm always grateful for all that host Ed Iman, his wife Pam, and the entire work crew do to keep us well-fed and happy for the better part of a week while we go fishing. And if you're thinking of a September camping trip or fishing trip, or maybe even one in October, consider the Columbia River Gorge. They've got some great state parks down there. There's Mary Hill State Park. There's the Deschutes River State Park there at the mouth where it meets the Columbia River. You've got Columbia Hills State Park. And, of course, the Peach Beach RV Park where we stayed. Lots of hotels in and around the Dalles, and if you go to the Dalles Chamber of Commerce website, you'll find some ideas for other things to do, too. Besides fishing, there's also some great bicycling opportunities around the Dalles, and make it a point to visit the Gorge Discovery Center and especially check out the Raptor exhibit there. As for the fishing, like I said at the top of the broadcast, take your choice of the Columbia River, of the Klickitat, of the Deschutes, or some of the other streams and lakes in the area. You really can't go wrong at this time of year. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.